Here we are back at Coffs Coast spearfishing with Todd, and he's going to tell us a little bit about speargun rubber. Looks like you've got a fair variety down there.
Yeah, we've got a mess down here. Speargun rubber comes from basically 10mm for using on your bungees.
Right, like the muzzle bungees, yep.
Yep, or using them on hand spears. You come up to the 14mm after that, or you can get a 12mm as well, which is great for around the headlands. If you want to double up on the 14mm.
It's great if you're just getting into it, isn't it? If you're struggling with your loading, yeah. So you can get you can still get the same power, can't you, with two 14s as you can with one 16 or one 18.
I do know some good spear fishermen too that instead of using the double 16mm, they prefer to use the triple 14mm. So here's your 16mm. Some Rob Allen here. Some red. Basically, you want dipped US latex as your best quality. It just gives you more stretch, and it's a more fluid release.
Not a snappy.
Not a snap, not a whip. So your 16mm, generally, if you're starting out, you can use a single 16, but a lot of people use the double 16 when they go out for the blue water stuff, or out off their reefs. Not really for around headlands. Then you come up to your 18mm rubbers. This is the hammerhead and the Rob Allen. Well, that's a 17.5mm actually, and that's an 18mm. People traditionally use these as single rubber around headlands, single 18mm. If you've got the strength to load it. I generally don't use them as a double rubber. It's too much power and will walk the spear off course. So single rubbers, and some of the old boys, as tends to be coming back in, use the good old 20mm.
Jeez, you need to be Hulk Hogan to load it.
Hulk Hogan to load it, or make it really long, one of the two. But yeah, that's traditionally used with the old woodies. But you depending on your gun and what you're going for will depend on the strength of rubber you need. Obviously loading up your gun too much will walk the spear off course. But not having enough power, you will not have enough range to hit the fish. So it's a happy medium.
I can see, looking at your Kes guns behind you, which are a great Australian brand of guns, that you've got all different rubber combinations there with 3 rubbers, 2 rubbers, thick rubbers, thin rubbers. Yeah. So I guess it all depends on the size of your gun and size of the shaft and what you're chasing. Yeah. Yep. Todd's kindly volunteered to show us how to make up a rubber for your spear gun.
So you'll need Dyneema, constrictor cord, 2 beads, and at least 1 insertion tool, and obviously the rubber. So here's one I made up earlier, but to make one you need to feed it through. Make sure you feed in the right end. This end will be going into the rubber first, so make sure you feed that on the end on first, and the opposite way for the other one. I'll just do a stopper knot, doubled over. Stop it up. Getting the length right can be a bit tricky at times, but you can play around with it. Don't lock it off until you've got it right.
Very good, so there's your bridle.
All you have to do is cut it off and then burn the ends then.
Very good, and here's one you've made up earlier.
Here's one I made up earlier. To insert them, I use the good old poor-man's lube.
Alright, and I see you before you put that in, you put the end into this. That's a special tool for inserting beads in.
Wishbone insertion tool.
Right, very handy, aren't they?
Yeah. So you can use lubricant, but you must check to see that it is rubber safe. Silicone grease is good, but some silicone greases, as you can see, advise no prolonged exposure vinyls or rubbers.
Right, so that's going to damage your rubber if you use that type.
Over time.
Okay.
So make sure you use something like this inox, which is even food safe. I just use spit.
Right, so you forced it in.
And it goes straight in.
So now you can see that bulge there. That's where the bead is sitting inside the rubber.
Yep. You leave some space so you can tie off your constrictor later. So with the constrictor knot, all I do is just stop a knot at the end, like so. I then loop it around and tie a little loop through the hole. This is purely just to help me out later on. It's not a part of the actual constrictor knot.
Right, okay. So you've got a little loop on the end.
Yeah. So you come under the rubber.
What type of knot is this called?
Constrictor knot.
Constrictor knot, right?
Yep, so you've got constrictor cord to tie a constrictor knot. Okay. So, you can do it up the rubber if you prefer, it might be easier so it doesn't slip off. You do a cross. Yep. Then with this one, you come under the rubber, so you have the cross, and then under. And when this line that's come out, go over the other piece of constrictor that's coming away, and then you go under both of them. That's the cross. Okay. All I do on this end is tie another little knot. And another little loop. This just allows you to get some tension on it. Once you want to tighten it, don't tighten it yet, make sure it's in position.
Alright, so it's between the bulge and the end of the rubber?
Yeah. I like to have it as close to the end of the rubber so you can use as much of the rubber as possible. Okay. Tighten it a little bit just to get it in position. Then I use my loops to get tension on the constrictor. You can, if you have a vise, twirl the rubber as you tighten it, but if you don't have one, this will do.
Alright, so you pull that in nice and tightly there?
Yep. So she's not going anywhere. You can cut the excess away, rough them up a bit. And if you have your lighter ready, which that isn't,
Round two. Alright, so you're burning the ends. So what's the go with burning the ends, Todd? What does that help?
Basically it will stop it from fraying and it will create a little ball that will not be so easily pulled through the constrictor knot.
So it's a little bit of insurance on your knot, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Keeps it all nice and tidy.
Yep. I've only done a couple of thousand of these.
You're happy to do these for the customers when they come in?
Always.
Very good.
And there is, you can pull the rubber back.
Right. So you just repeat on the other side and there you've got your rubber ready to go.
Yeah. Make sure on some guns you need to make the rubber inside the muzzle. So just always check to see what type of muzzle you have.
That could be quite frustrating.
Yeah, it can be.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for that, Todd. That's fantastic.